Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronnie Hayes, and today let's talk The Walking Dead Q&A 94. Before we jump into the Q&As, there's a couple things I want to say. First off, we have, Thursday and Friday of this week. I'm going to try to post a Q&A for Thursday and Friday, and then I got a weekend coming up where I got a lot to do, and then starting next week, we'll do Monday through Friday Q&As daily up until the Season 7 premieres. If I miss a day or two, I'm sorry, and then I'll try to do a double upload the very next day, just to kind of keep it even. And another thing, too, that's very, very important, if you ask a question today, it won't necessarily be answered the very next day. There's always a delay. So keep your eyes out for a delay in answering questions from Q&A to Q&A. And if you're new here, find the rules in the video description of this video and all the other Q&A videos. That's very, very important because a lot of the rules help me find your questions, because if you bury your questions, all over the internet, there's no way in hell I can find them all. So follow the rules. With that said, let's jump straight into this. Q&A number 94, Jonah the Savior. Dear Ronnie, have you ever cried over something that happened in The Walking Dead? No, it's very difficult for me to cry for TV and movies. I remember before I was a father, fucking hell, man, tie me to a chair and break my feet. You're not going to get me to cry. For some, that's just naturally how it was. Movie was enjoyable, but it never brought out those emotions. The older I'm getting, and now that I'm a father, I notice that those emotions I'm starting to feel like a real human being. So maybe one day, but not off the top of my head. The Sophia thing, I think a little bit, not for Sophia's character, but for Carol. I think that was real hard witnessing that. So I think that was the closest that got me choked up. I'll think about it, because there could be a sleeper scene that I'm forgetting. Chan Chi-Nek, how did you get to be so fucking cool? Prison. Don't you agree that the show needs 20 to 24 episodes because of the characters, the location, the size, the budget, yada, yada, yada? Hell no. A lot of these TV shows that have 20-ish, 22, 24, they are kind of, they're fun, predictable, mediocre acting, mediocre storytelling. No, never, not in a million years. 16 is perfect for The Walking Dead. If anything, a couple less, like 13. Tighten it up a bit, but never more. I think 16 is perfect, though. Jackal Goldkick. Ronnie, why do you think fans still wonder about Morales coming back? Only because he's connected to the very first season. That character is as generic and background as it comes. There's really nothing, special about him, so I think it's only because he's connected to the original, the start of the series. Jay Sketty. Ronnie, do you think that the casting of Negan was given to a too good-looking of an actor? No, not at all. You can bring in an ugly duckling, and if he gives the right performance, he can win over the women, and it happens, But as far as him being too good-looking, no, I don't think that's a problem at all. I think women can still hate him if he kills characters they love already, and then, off-screen, they'll still swoon. So, it is what it is. Joe Cool. Assuming Glenn is Lucille, do you think it would be a nice callback for Rick to use a red sports car with an alarm blaring for the comic Holly assault on the sanctuary instead of a truck? For those who don't know, in the comic, Rick drives a truck into the gates of somewhere. Just, you don't need to know anything else. But yes, I think it would be a very awesome callback to have him drive a red sports car. No alarm, though. No alarm. Unless, you know what? Yeah, you know what? That's tricky because it can be interpreted as very cheesy. It's a fine line. But if you have Rick preparing and he's like, and he notices there was no idea for an alarm before, and he preps the red car, and before anything, he goes, this is for Glenn, or if he's talking to Maggie, anything. Do it where it's not cheesy, though. Just, confident. We're fucking getting Negan, this is for Glenn. And then he decides, it wasn't planned, but he has this impulsive decision to flick the alarm switch or turn the alarm on, and that way he rides it through, because now all the walkers will follow the alarm into Negan's headquarters. Perfect attack, and it's a perfect callback. I love it. I love it. It's a fine line to being cheesy, though, so the writers have to be very aware of that. J.K. Crew. Ronnie, do you think we should see Shiva kill humans in The Walking Dead? Absolutely. Lee Curry. Question is followed by a long explanation. I don't know if we have time for this. Ronnie, what do you think of Glenn dying in the premiere, similar to how Denise dies in the comic? Okay, what you're talking about is that putting Maggie first in line for receiving medical attention. Okay, you're talking Glenn, for whatever reason, gets stabbed after someone else is beaten to death by Negan. Glenn gets stabbed, so now they're both taken to the hilltop. Glenn makes Maggie go first because of the pregnancy shit, and he bleeds out and dies. I understand where you're going with that, but I strongly disagree against that storyline for a number of reasons. In the comic, it worked because Heath was going to die immediately. His leg was bleeding out. He lost his leg, and it's just leaking blood. You know, without a doubt, he will die. And then Denise, on the same strength, without a doubt, she's going to get infected because she had a bite. So it works perfectly. Maggie has been sick for hours now. It's not going to kill her for another half an hour for Glenn to get patched up quick. And I don't think any of the survivors, Maggie included, would have put up for that. I just don't see them watching Glenn bleed out with Maggie being sick. Now, if she's really sick and she's going into some kind of seizure or something, maybe. But this is a complicated scene, and I think it might be interpreted poorly against all the other characters if they do something like that. But I understand where your heart is in interpreting that scene. Sebastian Greyjoy. Why are comic fans so bitchy about the show and overrate the books? The comics didn't get enjoyable for me until the final Governor battle. As prior, it just seemed like Kirkman was doing brutal stuff for shock value and attention instead of good storytelling. Something he will eventually become very good at. It's like 7 seasons in that they didn't realize things will be changed. Wait, what? Oh, comic fans don't realize. Remixed or left out, and at times just complain because something... Listen, here's the thing. If you're finding comic fans that are complaining about comic or book fans, whatever, certain fans will always complain. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say. But that doesn't mean that all comic book fans are like that. All I know is me, right? For definites. I poked fun at the Holly stuff in the, and I think this is a perfect example. I poked fun at Holly dying on the show. Why didn't we see Holly? For 80% of that, it was just poking fun. It was something to talk about in videos, and it was a little bit of humor sprinkled in, you know? As far as not taking everything so serious. Afterwards, though, after it's all said and done, I go back and rewatch the Wolves stuff, and I don't even think about Holly twice. You know what I'm saying? It's over, it's done with, so you can enjoy the show for how different it is. I think a huge portion of the fan base is like that, and there's only that small, vocal portion of the fan base that still watches the show but claims it's the worst ever because it's so different from the comic. So that's difficult. Are you going to really take somebody to heart enough to post a comment like that when they claim they don't watch it anymore because it doesn't follow the comic? That person is being ridiculous. If you currently watch the Walking Dead TV show and you say you don't watch it because it doesn't follow the comic book too much, or you're too stuck on the comic book, then you're dealing with your own inabilities to accept change and remix throughout the story. And the truth is, a lot of story elements don't work well in different mediums. What works really well in the comic storytelling medium will not work whatsoever in the TV show version. It just won't work. Change is absolutely necessary. A lot of the times they do it, it's necessary. Now, I will admit, there's sometimes they change things they didn't have to. You know, they could have had the original, but it doesn't ruin the experience. So I think you're getting a lot of blowback maybe from fans that are just being stubborn. As far as Kirkman, though, you made up a good point here that I think you're overlooking how perfect this was. The reason why the beginning of The Walking Dead works so well is because Kirkman started a story that wasn't planned. He didn't expect it to become what it became. So when he first did it, his writing style matched the environment of that world and those characters. It was a coincidence that just fell into place perfectly without anyone even forcing it to be that way. Look at it. Kirkman was impulsive as shit. He didn't even know what he was going to do 3 or 4 issues from now, or at least the storytelling didn't seem like he knew. It looked like he knew, okay, we're going to go to a place called Alexandria. We're going to go to Washington. But getting there in these little different steps, it looked like he was winging it. You know what I mean? And that is reflected perfectly, again, in the story that's being told, because those characters are just fucking winging it. I think it was beautiful. I mean, his amateur writing style, and I'm just saying that for lack of better words, his amateur writing style in the beginning was a perfect fit for the story he was telling. Now, his writing style did improve, and it improved for the better, in my opinion. Now his writing style it's cold, it's planned, and I mean it cold and calculated, not cold as in no good. I mean, he plans certain things out, issues and issues and issues ahead of time, small things that it never really seemed like he ever planned those things out back in the beginning of The Walking Dead. Anyway, Volcano. I don't know, that's a weird name. Do you think you would enjoy the show more if you don't know the comics? No, when I first watched the first 2 seasons, I really liked the show, but then in the 3rd season, somewhere around there, I started reading the comics. I think it was actually in the 2nd season, in the mid-season finale, in that break after the barn scene. I believe that's when I ordered the first compendium, but no, not at all. I am like a massive fan and more excited for the show than I was previously just watching it as a TV show. And I think a big part is knowing that there's so much story to tell. Previously, I was always so worried. In Season 2 of The Walking Dead, I was so nervous that I'm loving this zombie show. Finally, zombies were done right. I was so nervous that someone would just steal that away and it would get canceled. So fucking nervous, man. Simon Peterson. Hey Ronnie, I have a pretty exciting question for you. Some people say that The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad are in the same universe. No, you started talking about the one of the saviors also played in Better Call Saul, which takes place in the same world as Breaking Bad. No, from what I understand, those characters have 2 different names. The character in Better Call Saul and the character in The Walking Dead. It's the same actor, yes. But let's put it this way. It doesn't matter what they do. They put Easter eggs in the show, and maybe a couple Easter eggs in Breaking Bad, but they're not in the same universe 100%. Legally, they can't even do it. AMC doesn't own Breaking Bad. They couldn't do it if they wanted to. They can put Easter eggs in there, but there's no way in hell they would ever be able to legally come out and hint at all that Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead are in the same universe. So I think we should forget all about that. It's Easter eggs only, in my opinion. Sebastian Bassi Grana. Hey Ronnie, given the fact that Bob died about 2 months ago at most, isn't it kind of a dick move for Abraham to go after Sasha? If they do get together, what does that say about her? It wasn't a breakup, he fucking died. I don't know what world you live in, but when somebody dies, that chick is up for grabs, Yeah, Bob died. That doesn't mean Sasha can't move on. That doesn't mean Abraham can't move on. They weren't banging while Bob was being stolen or taken by the hunters, you know what I mean? So I highly disagree with how you view it, but if you want to see it that way, I say it's old-fashioned, but I don't agree with it. Mishari Al-3 Nizi. I don't know. Hey Ronnie, what do you think the title of 701 should be? Something to fear. If it's not something to fear, they failed miserably. Monty Bigborn 54. Do you think any of the survivor ladies, Rose or Sasha or Tara, may go on a vendetta mission and try to assassinate Negan, trying to become one of his harem or wives? Now here's the thing. They're not going to know right away unless they change the story. Tara's not going to know Negan takes wives, and neither will Sasha or anyone else. And I don't know. I don't think that will play a good part in the story. If one of them does find out and they do decide to become one of his wives, we don't know that process. We don't know if Negan selects from the people at the sanctuary. We don't know if he selects from just whatever he sees that he likes. We don't know if he selects by women coming to him first. We don't know any of this. And I think by the time we find any of this out, or the survivors catch wind of any of this, I think all-out war is most likely going to start anyway, Plus, if you're going to enter that into the story, what good does it really do? I mean, we know they're not going to assassinate Negan. That would ruin a large portion of the story surrounding Negan, So, but no, the easiest way out of this is they simply have no clue that Negan takes wives right now, until we find out if they remixed it differently. Miguel Ribeiro. Hey Ronnie, do you think Negan could kill Maggie in the season premiere? because if they make a double death, it could be Maggie and the unborn child. I wanted to throw this in here to finally put this to bed. No way in hell is Maggie getting killed. No way in hell. You heard it here first. She's 100% safe. She will not die at the hands of Negan in episode 1 of season 7. It's just not going to happen. They have already taken time to set up that character for future development. In season 7, they wouldn't kill her now. That would make the stuff they set up previously in just the most recent season, it would make it all a giant waste of time. They're not going to do it. Exuger? There's always that one name where I'm like, what the fuck is that? Ronnie, I don't know if you've seen the Negan's Way teaser. We see Negan walking probably in the sanctuary, and Dwight and others are kneeling down as he passes. As far as I can remember, that doesn't happen in the comic. Yes, it does happen in the comic. It's just not Dwight. Maybe that's why you don't remember it. It's just regular survivors in the sanctuary. Negan and Carl walk in, and they kneel, you know. The TV show's just fleshing it out more, where they talk about we're done kneeling, where Dwight and his girl were captured the first time, and then after that we're going to see them kneeling to him. They kneel before him when he picks one to die, so they're just fleshing that out, but it was in the comic. Do you think we'll see Negan being treated more like a god by his people? No, that doesn't fit the world of The Walking Dead. It doesn't fit the character of Negan. Being treated like a king? Sure, that fits a lot better, you know? Alright, well, since this video is already longer than I expected, I think that's enough questions for today. Go ahead and ask your questions in the comment box, and feel free to give me your answers to some of these questions. What do you think about these questions? I'm done talking. It's your turn. Subscribe now.